Hello and welcome everyone. Kicking off the conference with a workshop. Hope you all are doing great. So this is Adeel from Apmatic, and I have Sajid with me. We both will be conducting this workshop. So a bit of introduction about myself. I am one of the founders of Apmatic, which came out of my PhD project. And we have been helping API companies with the developer experience. So if you want to provide SDKs, code samples, API docs for your API, do visit apmatic.io. Sajid?
I hope you can hear me. I'm Sajid. I'm a solutions architect and I am an ambassador and a mentor at Apmatic. I try to teach people at Apmatic and help them build better APIs and build better developer experience for all of us. When I'm not working, I'm sometimes doing photography or tinkering with cloud. Cloud is my stronger area. And sometimes I never close my browser tabs. How many of you never close their browser tabs? Okay, so there is a term called browser tab hoarding. So we all are tab hoarders, all right? So we are not here to talk about my bad habits or our bad habits. We are here to talk about something very interesting. Go ahead, Adeel.
Sure, thank you, Sajid. Okay, so first thing first, we have the agenda of this workshop. We'll start with a bit of theory, and we'll see how do fastest growing APIs attract and onboard developers. Then we'll see how can we use API Spec as a single source of truth for API onboarding and consumption. And then we'll have our second part, which is hands-on, where we'll take a couple of API specifications, fix the problems, generate SDKs, code samples, and try to create complete applications all within the time of this workshop. So you all should stay attentive because we got some New Zealand's artisan collection chocolates. So I live in New Zealand, just arrived last night for this conference. So stay attentive, listen carefully, and there are some questions and some prizes. Okay, some prereqs. Meanwhile, I am talking over here. How many of you already have Visual Studio Code on your laptops? Great. Because we really want to make this hands-on experience. So if you don't have, scan this code or go to this URL and download. Yeah, and there is a document which we are following in this workshop. The document link is over here, bit.ly apmatic _ASC 2022. I'll proceed whenever every one of you have opened the document. Let me know if you need any help. Got the document? No worries, take your time. Got it? Yep. Anybody needs a hand? All good? All right. So let me test some of your space knowledge. Anybody knows about Lagrange points? Any guesses? Yep, please.
The point where the gravitational pull of the Earth and the Sun are equivalent to the orbit. It's where the James Webb telescope is.
Yep. Pretty right. So when two orbital bodies, like there is a gravitational force between two bodies, and there's a point where there's an equilibrium between both of the forces, and at that point, at that equilibrium, if you part something, that can stay there for a long time without having much to change. So between Earth and Sun, there are 5 Lagrange points. Similarly, between Earth and Moon, there are 5 different Lagrange points. So you can see L1, L2, L4, L5, and L3 over here. So NASA, a few years ago, sent out a satellite with the name Discover, which is parked at L1, that is between Earth and Sun, this satellite. Anybody knows which year was it when it was launched? It reached over there at L1. It was in 2015, so not very long ago. But the interesting bit is that this Discover satellite got an API, and we can access images of Earth every day from so many angles, and it has become so much easier for us to view the Earth from a million miles away, because this L1 point is 1.5 million kilometers or a million miles away from Earth, and it's between Sun and Earth. So it's facing towards Earth. So like Sun is always on, so you can, it's the face of Earth is always lit up, and we see very interesting phenomena over there. For example, what's this? Any guesses? This is showing us solar eclipse. So solar eclipse, as we see, is different, but if you see from a million miles away, you can see the shadow of moon going, sorry, shadow of, on just like on the Earth. So it's very interesting phenomena. It happens, I guess, few times a year. And this image was my motivation to start this work, actually. This is called lunar transit. When Sun comes in between the Epic satellite and Sun and Earth. So you can see that the other side of the moon, because moon is phase locked with Earth, we don't get to see this side of the moon when we see the moon in our daily lives. Okay. Now, enough for the science. Come back to the workshop. So the workshop goal is sending a million-mile view of Earth to your inbox. Whatever is, the view, we want to just, send that to your inbox using with the help of APIs. What we'll be doing, we'll be using 2 APIs. The first one is NASA's Epic API, and the second one is SendGrid API. Both are publicly available. Both can be used for free. Okay. So imagine if I give you these 2 APIs, and ask you to just compose them together to create an application. What are the options? The option number 1, you as a developer understand this API, read its documentation, understand how to make HTTP calls, how to resolve dependencies and everything, and then create an application. Option number 2 is, some good APIs give SDKs and code samples. That makes your life much easier, right? But again, they need to have a developer or a team of developers to build SDKs and code samples. Imagine if you're supporting 8 languages, then you would need a team of at least 8 developers, technical writers, QAs to build SDKs and code samples. And since we all are attending API Spec conference, so there is a third option, that you create a single source of truth, an open API specification or RAML file or Swagger file that can help you generate SDKs and code samples from the file, and that makes the lives of consumers much more easier. And as a provider, the life is easy as well, because you don't have to keep a team to maintain SDKs and code samples. So we'll be using option number 3, which is the quickest way. But why SDKs? Why code samples? Anybody wants to just maybe tell me, if I have an API, why should I use an SDK? Yes, please. You're smart, not lazy. Why? Because you are not trying to learn another interface, which is REST. Your purpose is to hit this NASA endpoint. And by learning REST, you are just like, doing another layer of coding, which could be done via machine, via SDK. So you are smart. I will not call it lazy. And that's how the fastest growing APIs onboard developers. So I am going to give you a quick overview in the next 10 to 15 minutes, how the fastest growing APIs onboard developers. Okay, again, a question. Anybody knows how many parts are there on a car? Just a guess. Say a number. 1,000? Okay, that's not so close, but anyway. That's a bit closer. More. Million. Oh, we are not talking about millions everywhere today. Anyway, so there are 30,000 parts on average in a car. But unlike the cars of a century ago, like these cars, newer cars have parts which are not built by a single vendor. So your vendor, maybe it's BMW or it's like Tesla. So companies, there are specific vendors who create parts, and your vendor assemble them to build cars nowadays. And similar evolution we have been seeing in the software industry, that we don't build software applications like single vendors, but we use third-party API economy. And there are heaps of API options to choose from as the small software components. So everybody knows about this, not rocket science. But what I want you to understand, maybe like you can again give me a guess, like how long does it take to assemble a car? What do you think? A day, yeah? Yep, something like that. So it's always terms in hours, actually. So according to Toyota, it takes 29.4 hours, while Chrysler takes around 33.7 hours. So I Googled it and found around like 24 to 35 hours on average. But what about this software application? If you want to integrate different apps in an application, how long does it typically take? Months? Yeah, it depends. So this is my favorite question, because I ask a lot of API providers, how long does it take to integrate your API? Who is paying the cost of that integration? And the answer is, it depends. If I talk about Stripe, people say, oh yeah, we are integrating in 2 days or 2 hours. But if I talk to any XYZ API, it typically takes a lot of time. Why? Why it's like weeks to months? Because there is a lack of tooling. There's a lack of standardization. That's why we are all here. So imagine if I give you this screwdriver and ask you to add these fancy seats to your car. How long will it take? It will take a lot of time. And instead of this screwdriver, if I give you a proper drill machine, the time will be a lot less, right? Now see that the screwdriver or this machine has not added any intelligence. So you call yourself lazy if you are using this or that? No, you are a smart person because you are using a right kind of tooling. Instead of using, just like wasting your time, because the purpose is to install the seats in the car. The purpose is not to use the screwdriver, right? Similar thing is happening in the API world. So we have intelligent developers, smart developers who are building APIs. We have intelligent developers who are building those applications. But we need a lot of developers who are also manually integrating APIs because of lack of tooling and standardization. And a lot of time is being wasted, I would call it, in API onboarding, because API onboarding is the first and definite step in the for integrating any API. So the first and definite defining step of API integration is API onboarding. If we look a bit deeper in an API onboarding journey, what we find? So this cute little pirate is your developer. And the goal is to reach the first hello world. So we typically give API reference and say, okay, here is your document, go and get to the hello world. But we just ask the developer to do all these things: configuration, call argument, authentication, checks and validations, building HTTP request, making the call, deserializing the body, handling the errors, and it takes a lot of time. And imagine, like for some APIs, the time is less, but if you have ever dealt with any open banking API, you know, like it takes, weeks and weeks. So imagine there's a good API, and it takes around 1 week for a developer to figure out this onboarding. And you are, you have built an API and your goal is to onboard 1 million developers in the lifetime of your API. So let's do a quick maths. One developer takes 1 week, 1 million developers will take 1 million weeks. That becomes over 19,000 years.
Where did you get the 1 week from?
I just took an average. Like for example, very good APIs like Stripe and others, they took 1 or 2 days. But the banking APIs, they take like 6 weeks, 7 weeks. So this is a very, you can say, conservative. Yeah. So 1 million developers will take 1 million weeks, over 19,000 years of integration work, which is not actually the goal. Now, what we see that onboarding and integration is exactly like working with a screwdriver. We are doing it. So the smart APIs, they figured out a way. What they did, they provided pre-built code in the form of SDKs and code samples that really help with the API onboarding. And some of the examples, I picked 4 of them: Algolia, Contentful. Everybody listens about Twilio and Stripe. So there is something common among these 4 APIs. What's that? Yeah, that's one thing. But there are a lot of APIs. So why I chose these? Because I wanted to give you the best example. But the best is something subjective. I can call my APIs the best, but there needs to be a criteria. So what could that be criteria? These all 4 API companies are API first unicorns. So they all have hit that magical, massive $1 billion valuation. Not every API first company have hit it. So what they provide, let's have a look. Algolia Search Api. Algolia says that this page documents the Algolia Search API. However, we strongly recommend using our official API client libraries and integrations. So they are giving you a document, but they are encouraging you to use their official client libraries. Why? Because Algolia knows that if you are a developer, you are having an IDE in front of you. You might be coding in Java or C# or TypeScript or Python. The learning rest is not your goal, but your goal is to quickly integrate their API. Similarly, go to Twilio. Just land on their document and see how many language references are there. Move on to Contentful, same, all the platforms. Move on to Stripe, all the platforms over here. So when I Googled API first unicorns, I found a new one added in the list. And I don't know about the Stitch API, what it does, but I just went to its documentation page and found all the references over here. So this, whenever I see a great API which claims to have been used by millions of developers, this is something in common among all those APIs. Why? What are they doing basically? They are just reducing this whole onboarding journey to a straight path. Idiomatic code samples, SDKs, client libraries, and assisted authentication. And when some API product managers see this list, aha, there's an aha moment. Here's my checklist. Now I'm going to implement all of these. And when they see Stripe, when they see Twilio, they typically say, okay. So we talk to some API providers and say, okay, we have a checklist. If you provide API reference, code samples, I can just get an open source library. Getting started guide is good. Changelog is good. But SDKs, too hard. Believe me, many API providers say this because it's really hard to just like keep SDKs up to date and everything. So what happens, if you do it without SDKs and try to provide code samples, so you end up with some bad examples. This is an example of code samples, how not to do it. Which language is this? Java. But you don't need to understand Java to understand what a bad code sample is. Okay. First problem with this, you can see request over here. So it's like, you're wrapping up curl commands at Java code. Imagine if you are like, working with 20 endpoints of this API. Will you be repeating like this? Do you write code in production like this? Where are objects? Where are classes? You're just, adding headers and over here. Second issue is giving your API key as a header. It's a big security vulnerability instead of reading it from the environment variable. Third thing, you can see this whole JSON string going like this. When I see this, I just say one thing. Object-oriented programming, RIP. That's it. Because, you have learned all of your life how to build classes, how to, create objects, how to serialize things. Okay. So quickly moving forward, that code samples speed up API onboarding. But here we saw some problems. And the problem is that with this code sample, integration is going to take forever, maybe even actively harmful for the production app. And to create better code samples that improve onboarding and shorten integration time is SDK. So great code samples plus complementary SDKs becomes great API onboarding. And we have already seen that best API docs are SDK first. And I'm not like, going to describe the advantages of SDKs, but if in case like in future or any time you are looking to provide SDKs and code samples with your libraries, with your APIs, just keep in mind the big five are doing SDKs right. So you should be thinking that SDKs contain code that is easy to understand, code which is easy to get started with, code that keeps working, code that works in all cases, code that works when nothing works. So I gave a talk last week in API Days, Melbourne. There's a recording available on YouTube. Go and see about all these 5 things. Okay. Now, I would like to invite Sajid, my friend over here, to give the hands-on part overview. And since like the theoretical part is almost over, we will be doing a little quiz as well.
All right, let's see how many of you have been paying attention. Can you hear me? All right. Okay, so before going to the workshop description, I will tell you what, I'm going to test your knowledge, obviously. So you have learned a little bit about the Space API and all that. So let's see what we have here. All right, you should be able to see this. Can you please browse to this URL, joinmyquiz.com, and then enter this code 004561 and add your name. Then I will start the quiz. So since this is recording, so please don't use the inappropriate names. I hope you will be using the appropriate names for the recording. All right, so when you all are done, what I will do, I will start the quiz, and then we will see who wins. We might have a lot of gifts. Some of you might have seen the chocolates over there on the table. So let's see who gets these chocolates. And by the way, I don't know if I'm getting any of these, Adeel, or not. I'm originally from Pakistan and Sweden, so I have never tried these chocolates. So I also want to try. I hope I will get one. It depends if I win. Yeah, but I will not be participating in this, obviously. All right, so let's see how many are we. Almost. All right, so I think we all are joined already. Okay, so let's start and let's see who wins. I think you are doing good. So Amit, you were on top, now you are back down. Okay, EDOM. Good going. So it will take roughly 3 to 4 minutes. Then we will see who is the winner. So we'll see the leaderboard here. So Adeel, how many people we are giving these chocolates today? So I don't know how many we have. So what do you think, like 3 or 5? Okay, so top 3, yeah. So you decide. And by the way, if you get one answer wrong, don't stop. You will get more chances to correct the answers. So Royal, you are on top now, Venkat second. Or I was too slow to say, I guess. Or I jinxed Royal. So Venkat is on top again. EDOM, you are second. I think you were first before. I don't know who is EDOM. There you go. Yeah. I think the people who are sitting in front. Yeah. Yeah, but I think people who are sitting in front, they were paying more attention probably, right? I don't know. I'm just guessing. All right, Alberto. Wow. I think Alberto was quite low on the list earlier. So good. Don't lose the hope. It's not end until it's end. Okay, I think we are reaching to the end very soon. Yeah, we have a couple. So 2 more people to finish. All right, I think we have the winners because I don't see any activity anymore. So Vince, are you in the competition or already not? I don't know who is. Okay, so let's take the, Adeel, shall we take top 5?
Yeah, let's first, yeah. There are 6, I think.
No, we have first top 5 we can take, right? Do we have 6?
Let me see how many I have more.
Okay, let's say if we have 6.
Yeah.
By the way, that was mine. Adeel, please do the honors and
Let's just invite people to it.
yeah, let's invite people here. Okay, who is the first? Or shall we start from the 5th or 6th, I mean?
Yeah.
Adeel, do the honors.
How to pronounce it? Because J is silent. Carousel? Yay.
So my theory of like front people paying more attention was wrong. So we don't have any data. I was just making it up. Okay, who is the second?
Venkat. Alberto ML. What is ML? Machine learning?
My surnames, actually.
Oh.
I'm Spanish, so Switzerland.
That's great. Very good.
Thank you, Alberto. Okay, so who is?
Royal.
There you go. Great job.
Steve.
You know, Adeel, I think nobody win from the front row, I think. So, yeah, I was totally off. I accept it. There you go. Okay, so is
N-O-M. You are right, Sajid.
well done, great job. Okay, so we are done with the quiz. Let's go back to the presentation and I will describe the workshop to you a little bit. And how many of you have already opened the link that we shared earlier, the bit.ly link? Okay, so if you haven't opened the link, it's bit.ly/Apmatic_ASC 2022. Okay? And in that document, you already have a link. So let's look at that. So let me switch again to the different screen. All right, let me zoom it a little bit, zoom it out. So can you see this document? Let me scroll it all the way up. All right, so you have seen, there are 2 parts, obviously. First part, you have already seen the presentation from Adeel, and then we had a quiz. Now we are going towards the practical information, practical part. So what we will do, even in the hands-on part, we have 2 sub-parts in that. First part is where we will be fixing a broken API specification, and you will learn how to fix a broken API specification. And once we are done with that, what we will do, we will be using Apmatic Io to generate the portal, and we will download the SDK and then use it in our workshop. And today you will see how fast you can actually do that. All right, so if you open the document, you already see the prerequisites, the first part. And in the prerequisite, there are 2 links. Some of you were asking about where are these links? So these links are already included in the document. So what you will do, you will quickly download the Visual Studio Code and also the long-term support version of Node.js. So who does not have Visual Studio Code right now? All right, so if somebody needs more time, please feel free to download it now and then also download the Node.js. And obviously, yeah, so what I will do, I will type the bit.ly, and you should be able to see the URL. So is it large enough? Can you see at the back as well? All right, so if I click enter, you will be into that document where I am already. All right, so prerequisites installed. And then you should also have a stable internet. I hope everybody has a stable internet. So what we will do, we will install the Apmatic code extension. Okay, so first part is installing the Apmatic code extension. So what you will do, you will download the extension through this link in the document and then install it. Installing it is very simple. I will tell you in a minute. Let me first describe you overall what we are doing. So after with this extension, what we can do, the first part where we are working with the broken API specification, this extension will make it very easy, very simple. And in a matter of minutes, what we will do, we'll be able to fix this specification. Then after fixing the specification, the second part, which starts from almost step number 18. By the way, don't get overwhelmed. These steps are very quick. I mean, we have tried to broken it down so that you can easily follow. So almost step number 18, then you will start using the generated SDK that we will generate with the help of Apmatic, build a small demo. In that demo, what we will do, we will be using the Nasa's API. And I will tell you how interesting that small demo or workshop is. And after using that, you will have a working demonstration of getting an image in your mailbox. All right, so shall we start? Adeel, shall we start with the API specification part first? All right. So do you want to switch the laptop?
All right. Okay, so there is Visual Studio Code. So has everybody got this Apmatic API Explorer, this extension coming up? This one? Yeah, meanwhile, you're installing it. Let me tell you what's this. So Apmatic is a SaaS, so you can access via browser. So what we are doing, what we saw that when people are trying to generate SDKs or code samples, they typically run into bad API specification. So just like in simple terms, if you like bring garbage in, you will get garbage out. So a good code depends on the quality of your API specification. That's why we are working on this VS Code extension, so that when developers are working on their API specs, they should be able to make great API specs. So this is pre-alpha. This is not released. We are aiming to release it by the end of this year. So you are the first one who are seeing actually, this extension over here. So would love to get some more feedback from you. So let me know when I can start. Has anybody left yet who is still doing it? Sure, please take your time.
But Adeel, can you tell what this extension will do?
Yeah, so this extension, I just mentioned that it helps you to design great API specifications. So it will help you with validation, it will help you with linting. Anybody knows the difference between validation and linting? So validation is more about the correctness of your API spec, linting is more about the styling and nice to do. Okay. All right, so what I'm going to do, I am going to follow this. Okay. So here we are at step number 1, installation of VS Code extension. Since we are done with this, we have installed it from VSIX, and then what we are going to do, we are going to open the NASA Api specification, the API, the output of which you just saw. Okay, so now create a directory with the name NASA in your local system or whatever the code. For example, if I may create a new folder with the name NASA. There you go. I have opened a folder, and this is empty folder. Better. Okay, so now we are importing a file from public URL. So let me add this public URL. This is given in the document. If you go down, copy the following URL. That's yeah, you can simply click copy link over here. And then import file from public URL, just paste it over here. Yeah. So when you paste, you will see this NASA Epic API.json over here, and over on your left, you will find a percentage score. It's showing you the status that is failed with blocking errors. So this API specification is not working. We need to fix it, okay? How we are going to fix it? But before fixing, we see the percentage score is 0.0%. It's in the blocking stage. You cannot work with it at all, okay? So there are 10 problems. The first one is the blocking issue here. And if you click on this, reference could not be resolved. And it's pointing you to the error. Yeah. So if you click over here, you can see reference could not be resolved. And the problem is view problem. It will also show you. Okay. Reference could not be resolved. What you are seeing over here, that this reference is not finding. So we need to see in our component and schemas and look for this dates. Okay. So you follow the breadcrumbs on top, click on these paths, and the paths you will see some components. Click on component, you see schemas. In the schemas, you are seeing these dates. And this date, when you click on it, and mouse hover, you are seeing that component was defined but never used. Okay, and now you can guess, if you click back over here, you will guess that, okay, that's our dates, and over there, there was D with capital. It's a very small mistake which like people tend to miss, small d, capital D. So if you have described your schema, that's case sensitive. Now just change this D and click Control S, save it. And now, with removing this blocking error, the percentage score is 94.2% already. So the blocking error is gone, and now we are left with one error and some warnings. So again, with the blocking error, you cannot work with it at all. This error is also required to be fixed. Okay, what is this error? Yeah, if we mouse over, it says required operation ID in the operation object is missing. So sometime when we are describing our endpoints, which are called operations here, we tend to miss, like describing ID. So if you look at the API documentation, if there's an ID missed, it's fine. But if you're generating a code sample or SDK and an ID is missed, then that's not fine, and you will create a bad SDK. So it's very simple. You can see over here, for example, if you go in the next one, for example, it's other endpoint, this date, you can see operation ID is here. But in this one, there's no operation ID, okay? So you can simply describe an operation ID over here. It's intelligent enough to let you know that this is missing, operation ID is, and operation ID, how can you define? Simply with a colon, and you can give maybe like get all available dates, okay? By the way, there's one more feature I will show it to you later. You can actually, generate the PDF of your PDF report and send it to anyone with this, the problems you have. Okay. So if we just quickly go down, we are already here, operation ID. Okay. So we are describing an ID, and the ID we are saying is get all available dates. But here, if I click save, there's a problem, because in operation ID, you can, okay, yeah, so operation ID is there, that problem is resolved, but as another problem come up, that operation ID is invalid, and it's telling you that this is invalid because you cannot have colons inside this get available dates. You can have underscore and things, but not colons. Now, it's resolved. You can say percentage score as 95%. Okay. Moving forward, there is no blocking, there is no error, but there are some warnings. If we want to, just fix the warnings, let's try to fix the easy one first. Over here, what it's saying that it's saying that your description is missing over here, the description of this title. So, of course, this is valid. This will not make your documentation or things invalid, but that's a bad practice to leave descriptions, because it will not help your consumers. So you can just simply write, I am a description. Just save it, and you have improved your score up to 95.8%. Okay, let's have a look at the next one. Yeah, so you can see the example JPGA. This example doesn't look correct, but we know it's JPG, but if we want to see it better, how we can go? Again, this is showing me a bad example where it is. If you go to paths, and the paths, if you go, for example, click in the get method, and the parameters, and 2. If you click over here, you will find the correct example, JPG. So you can copy and go back to the problem, JPGA, and remove it and save it. Problem solved. Following me? Thank you. Okay, so that's the last one, and we are seeing inline schema definitions, which we need to fix. So inline schema, what they do? So basically, you can describe your schema at two levels. One is at the global level, and the other is inline. So the global level really helps you reference it elsewhere. And having a schema, same schema, because you can see the schema is showing here. This is exactly same as this one. And both are basically pointing to the same schema. And having this, yeah, it's not good. So you can, what we can simply do, you can simply copy this and create and select as the global schema, okay? So this is image quality. So what we can do, we can go in the components. We have schemas, and we can create a new schema, image, yeah, and this schema, under this, we can simply paste our enum value, okay. So this new image quality schema has been created, but it's telling me that this component is defined but never used. And how I can use it? I can simply go there and replace that with a reference. So over here is showing me the schema, and I can simply remove it and add a reference. And once you type the colon, it will show you the image quality. But see, it's not saved, that's why it's not showing me. Yeah. So now if I go back, click over here. It's not showing me still. Yeah, because I give this is the last warning I'm working with. So whatever I'm doing is given in this document. So if you are not following over here, you can always see all the steps over there, okay? So in the schema, there you go. The last warning is only left, which is again, I need to replace this schema with the reference. So all the warnings have been gone. We have achieved a percentage score of 98.0. That's quite good. And the last information is this. And what's the information? Yeah, over here. So there is no security scheme defined. So this API, NASA doesn't care about security, so there is no authorization required for this API, but it's always a good practice if you are providing, if you are keeping your API secure. So if we resolve that, of course, we'll achieve a higher percentage. So that's the first part where we have dealt with the API specification, we have fixed it. Now the second part is to import and generate SDKs and code samples and quickly see them in action. So what we have done, I will be inviting Sajid. We have created a sample application where the code is almost done. All you need to do is just add the reference on SDK, put code samples in, and get the workshop done. Sajid, please. Sorry.
You mentioned, linting evaluation. Is it possible to add your own linting rule?
There should be possibility, but not right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, because right now we have only implemented sort of like 10% of the linting rules in this, but more are coming up. And yeah, that's a good suggestion. Yeah.
All right, you can hear me, right? Okay, who wanted to make it 100%? Tell me honestly, who was not satisfied with the 98%, by the way? Okay, so perfection is the enemy of good. So we go with the 98%. But I was not satisfied. Yeah. All right, hope you can see my screen in a second. Yes, you can. Let's go back where, by the way, I already have a file which is already fixed. So because I have done this practice a couple of times. So I will be using a fixed file because we don't want to repeat it, which we have already learned. And then now we are going towards the fun bit. Obviously that was also quite fun, but this is much more fun. You will see it quickly. Okay, so let's start with where we can import this API specification to apmatic.io. So do you have apmatic.io account already created? So why don't we start with quickly creating a trial of at apmatic.io. So do it while I'm searching and I'm fixing my Visual Studio Code, and Adeel can actually help you with that. So feel free to raise your hand and just say it loud. Okay, so what I'm doing, I will be following the same document, just like you are doing, but I have already installed Visual Studio Code. I already have LTS version of Node.js installed, which you have already done, and I already have an account at the Apmatic. So it's a very quick process. You can quickly do it within few seconds. All right, so here is my Visual Studio Code, and obviously I have already done it. So let me create a new folder. So we start from the beginning. And I have done a lot of versions, so let's start with brand new version. So I will call it NASA, if I can type right, -app-5. So what I will do everything in this folder instead. So let's start with opening this folder, which is number 5. And now we have a clean slate. Okay. So let's follow the document step by step. What I will do, I will go to the apmatic.io dashboard and import the specification. So if I click here, you will soon see that I already have it imported here. And few more APIs, don't worry about them. Just ignore the other APIs I have imported. Yeah.
People are creating accounts.
Yeah, sure, take your time. And please stop me if I'm going too fast. I tend to do it sometimes. All right, Adeel, why don't you tell a little bit about the portal, like what we are looking at it here?
Yeah, you generate it, and you will see inside all the endpoints and everything I just mentioned. Okay, is there a question? Are you good? Yeah, you can proceed.
Okay, so yeah, let's. I hope you already have an account now. By that time, it's very quick. You can actually create an account within a few minutes. So what I will do, I will import an API, and I already have a valid API specification that we have fixed before this demo. So I will click import, and I will browse the valid API. So this API specification that I copied in this folder is valid, so I will import this. And then you will see we will not have any errors or warnings in this, this version. So what I will do, I will go and proceed, and now you should be able to see 2 copies of it because obviously I tested the one before. So there are, what I will do, now I will generate the developer portal from this, and I will also be able to download the SDK, right? So once the API is imported, so what we have to do, we have to generate a developer portal. So I will go back to the Apmatic dashboard and generate the developer portal. So I will click generate and proceed. And then we have option to generate or preview the API portal. We also have the option to download the SDK. So I will tell you how to download the SDK a little bit later. So first look at how the portal looks like. So portal is very simple and pretty beautiful. You can see there's a customization option. I will close it for now. And there are different ways we can use or generate SDKs, or we can use this portal with. So which language should we pick? TypeScript, Adeel? All right, so let's pick the TypeScript because this is how we have prepared our demo. So in the TypeScript, we have, yeah. Exactly. So in the TypeScript, I will tell you how you can use Apmatic developer portal and for the testing as well in a second. So once we have the portal, what we can do, you will see different endpoints available here. For example, get all available dates or other things. All right, so Adeel, do you remember? Let me try this out, by the way, first, before we actually show you the demo. So if I clicked try it out, and actually this call went to the Nasa API, and then we already received a response back. So this is the magic of, this is the experience I really like. I mean, how quickly we were able to test. This is the first call we have already done within few seconds. I just imported the specification, and I already have a running sample here. So you can see I have received responses of different dates. This data is available, coming from the Nasa API.
Yeah, so this is telling all the available dates. You can see the images.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's not always like today's date is not, yeah, 30th of September, and there are sometimes some dates, for example, 12th of September is missing. So yeah, let's start from 2015, I think, and now.
Exactly. So we have data available for those dates, right? Okay, let's go back to the document and see what we have there. So we have already generated the portal. We have already did the test call. Optionally, we could play with the Twilio SendGrid specification as well. Exactly same way. We don't have to do it right now, but you can do it if you want in your spare time, or even if you want to do it now. It's up to you. Okay, so what is the next step? Now we already have an application that we have pre-built. What we will do, we will clone it. So do you know how to clone this application? Can Adeel tell me how to clone the application? So I will copy this link. And there are different ways. One way is to actually go to the terminal and open the new terminal, and I will do what? Git clone this URL. Is there any other way, Adeel, do you think?
Download the zip file.
Exactly. So we could also download the zip file. All right.
anybody else also stuck on confirmation email? It's okay, we can wait. It's okay.
Yeah, take your time, no problem. How many of you, by the way, have already reached this step? Quite many. Good. So I'm not that fast. Yeah, so first time it takes a little bit more time, obviously. But if you have done it a couple of times, which I have done, so it takes even faster. Yeah.
Or Sajid, if you can give them if you can quickly publish that and give a link.
Yeah.
You don't have to create an account. Yeah.
All right. So what I will do, I will publish the portal.
Yeah. And then we can download SDKs directly from there. Yeah, so this is how you can publish your portal and give to anyone, so you can have hosted one. Yeah.
Okay, what name shall we give, Adeel?
NASA API, NASA ASC, NASA
A-ASC 2022,
Yep.
like that?
Yep.
All right, so let's publish it, and then I hope nobody has this URL. Yeah. So how much time does it take usually? What do you think?
Few seconds. If you go to your email inbox, it
Yeah.
should be there. Yeah, you can just type. Go on the same URL. It's worked fine. But anyway, so
Yeah, but we have one more way, right? Okay, I'm opening my email now. So
there you go.
there you go. So this is the URL. So if I click it, we already have this portal published.
Yeah, so you can simply go there.
Yeah, so then you don't have to create the account, right?
Yep. No complicated SDKs.
Okay, so are we all on the same page now?
See the URL over here. Yeah.
I think I'm the slowest one, or? All right, so let's continue. So what I have done, I have already cloned this. I have done the cloning, but you know how to clone the code. So in the Visual Studio Code, the cloning has already done. Now what do we have to do next? So what I will do, first we have to do a couple of npm run and npm install things in two different folders we have. So I will start with the root folder. So let me cd into the root folder, which is NASA app, and do the npm install. All right? And you can see this here. And you can feel free to keep doing what you're doing right now. Like, you can go ahead of me. I know I'm the slowest one. All right, so the first npm is in progress, and then I will do the npm install in this other folder, this Twilio SendGrid, in a few seconds. So how is it going at the back? Good? How was the chocolate? Anybody tried? You tried the chocolate, right? Okay, so the npm install is done. So what I will do the npm install in the other folder, which is Twilio. All right, So after this is complete, then at least we will be able to run the application and see what's going on. At least we will have some UI available here. So let's go back to the documentation and see what do we have to do next. So what I will do the npm run dev to see the portal up and running in a minute, in few seconds, obviously, when the npm install is complete. And after that, we will start copying and pasting the code from the API portal we have just published. All right, so that works. So what I will do, I will go back to the previous directory, which is our root directory. So what I will do, npm run dev. So I should be able to run this on a local host URL. The port could be different, by the way, in your case. So just check whatever is available here. So what I will do, I will just follow this link, and you should be able to see a page working here. And I will enter my email and click email me a picture, which obviously will not work yet because we have to add few more code in this sample. Okay, so let's follow the document. So now what I will do, I will download the Nasa Sdk that is generated in the portal. So are you following me here? So I will go back to the portal where we have the So I will select TypeScript. By the way, I could do this from the other portal that we have published. So while TypeScript is selected at the right side here, I will click Get SDK. And I have already shown you how different URLs are working here. So they are working fine. So I will click Get SDK, and then I will have a zip of this SDK. I will click that and copy it, go back to my workshop folder, and in here I can actually paste it. So what I will do, I can rename it because we have to follow certain naming convention to make this process a little bit faster, and extract it here. Then I will copy the extracted folder into the root folder of my app. So I will copy this extracted folder and put it in here in the root, and you will be able to see it in the Visual Studio Code as well. Okay, you following me? All right, so now the SDK is downloaded. Now I have to do a few more npm installs. So what I will do the npm install in this Nasa Epic API folder that I have just created. And then we will call the all available API endpoints, and we will do some copying and pasting from different places. You will see in a minute. All right, so let's control end this part, and then go back to Nasa Epic API folder and do the npm install here. So once the npm install is done, what we will do some copy pasting. My favorite job is copy pasting, by the way. But where do we copy from and where do we paste it to? We will copy it from the portal and then paste it into this getAvailableDates.js file, which is part of our server. I will show you the code in a second. So what I will do, I will go back to this part and go all available dates. And there you have to do one checkboxing thing. So click the configure and then show complete file. So we get to copy all the code available here. So what I will do, once done, I can click this and copy this code. By the way, people who are sitting in the end, can you see it? Is it clear enough? Or do you want me to zoom in further? So feel free to tell me if it is too small for you. Okay, so what I did, I copied this code, and now we have to paste it somewhere. Where we have to paste it, I will browse to the getAvailableDates.js file, and we have to copy it where it is written step 1. Okay, just under the step 1. So I will go to the server, getAvailableDates, and let me get this out of the way. So under the step 1, I will paste the code that I have just copied, right? After copying this code, we still have to do some more adjustment to the code, and that is like moving the try-catch block into the right place, and that you can see in the document here. So this is where it tells you like how to do you adjust the try catch code. And you can follow this in the document. I will do it quite fast, and also include this return where we are returning the results, like the first element of the array. So what I will do, I will copy this try catch block, or I would rather cut it, paste it under the step 2, right? And then I have to do one more paste, which is this return result, first result, because we have a collection of dates that are coming from the API, but we are interested in the first one. So what I will do, I will paste it just before, or I will return it from here, right? And this is also available in a commented format here down there, so you could copy from there as well. So I will save this file, and let's see what do we have next. Similarly, we have the other endpoint, call the images on a date endpoint. So in that case, what I have to do, I have to change a different file, which is get combined images.js file. And that one is also very simple, just like what we did with the all dates endpoint, we will be doing with this one exactly same way. So I will do it quickly. Are you following me? Okay, who is following me? Raise hands. Okay. Thank you. All right, so let's go back to the portal, and I will do the other endpoint, which is combined images on date. And I don't have to do the checkbox again because I already have the entire code available here. So I will click this copy and.
First, maybe just the purpose of try it out, we show images on a date.
Okay, which date do you think I should choose? Okay, does anybody remember what was the date for solar eclipse? By the way, I had no idea when was that date. I have written it here, so I'm just typing it from my list. Was it 21st August, right? 2017? Okay, shall we try it? Wow. But what is good about this picture, Adeel? Exactly. Exactly. That's true. And this dark part, you can see this is the eclipse. All right, now it's proved that it is working at least. So I will go back, and then now I can copy it, right, Adeel? Thank you. So now what we will do, we will go to this get combined images.js file. So I will do the same thing. It's exactly same repetition. I will paste the code here. I will move the try catch block in here, right? And there is one more step. What I will do, by the way, this is like a boilerplate code that I also need here, which I will paste here. And that code was already available in this code base that we downloaded earlier. And let me show you that in the workshop manual. All right, so what we have done, we have copied some code, and then I also have to adjust the code a little bit because we want to make sure we are able to call that endpoint that we just saw, get images. And yeah, we have to remove the date because we don't want to use the hard-coded date. We want to use the dynamic date that is passing as a parameter. So what I will do, I will go back to the Visual Studio and remove this date. And anyway, this date is not being used. You can see here. So this is like a dead code, which is a code smell. We should not have a dead code. All right, so we are done with this one. I have already copied the base 64 translation part of the code. Let me save it. Okay, we are at the final step, I think, the SendGrid setup. So what I will do now, I will edit the mail send.js file and paste the API key so that we can receive the images in the email. So I will copy this key, go back, and mail send.js file, I will open it, and I will just paste the key here. By the way, since you can see the key, don't abuse it. So otherwise, our API access might be blocked by SendGrid. Okay. So what else? What else do we have? We need to change a few more things like api.js file. We will update that. The code is already in that file. We just need to uncomment the code, and then some few more like libraries to add in the dependency. So let's go back to api.js, and as I said, we need to do some uncommenting here. So uncomment that, saved. So this file is done. Okay, what do we have next? So now what we have to do, we have to add this line into the package.json file, and that is in the root folder. So what I will do, I will go back, and where is the package.json? Here it is. And here are the dependencies, and I have to add this as a dependency because this is the thing, this is the SDK that we have downloaded. So what I will do, I will just paste the copied link that I have, copied dependency that I have copied earlier. And by the way, make sure this folder name is correct. So that's why I was trying to use the same naming convention so that we don't have to do the editing a lot. So now, since I have the exactly same name, so what I will do, I will just leave it as it is. Now it's saved. Okay, let's look at what it is. What's next? Okay, moment of truth. Now we have to test the application. So what I will do, I will test the application now. And that is the last step for today. So how do I test the application? What I will do, I will go back to the root folder. You can still see the terminal, right, at the bottom. So how do I run it? Just like I did before, I will do the npm run dev, and it did not work. So I think I did not save one file, or what happened. Okay, let me check if I have something wrong in my package file. Where? That's the last one. Do we need colon for that? No, we don't need for that. This is the correct folder. Let me check NASA Epic API. I might have renamed something. Epic API, that's correct. That looks good. We are in the right folder, which is NASA app. No, we are not in the right folder, actually. That's why. So npm run dev. No, still not working. Okay, let's see quickly if I have missed a step, which I usually do sometimes. So we have already done the, okay, we might need to do one more npm install. So what I will do, I will clear this and do npm install one more time. And that's because we have changed the dependencies. So that might be the reason. So let's try one more time. If not, obviously, I have a working application running, so we can see that as well if that doesn't work. I will not waste your time. All right, I think all of you were able to follow, and if you have any questions, you can please ask right now while I'm doing this. Yeah. All right, so the dev is working. The problem was I did not do the npm install. But here we have to add an email address and email me a picture. While I will be doing that, you should be able to see email sent at the bottom. And I will not dare to open my inbox one more time because we are already on time. All right, that's it.
That's it.
Thank you.
Any questions? We still have some time.
Yeah.
I can still see your time. That's like Sweden time, right?
Yeah, that's a Swedish time. Yeah.
Why are you sleeping?
Yeah, I'm already jet lagged. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, so my question is regarding different versions. So one of the things about APIs that a lot of people use is when they add new features, they change some of the add versions, right? So in your case, if there's new versions, that means I have to create a whole new SDK again to plug in the code, copy paste the code into my stuff. Is there an easy way to do this, or it has to be go through a hard way?
So that's the answer. Yeah. So that's the same problem with the API versioning, and there are ways to resolve it. And not only with the API versioning, there's the same problem with the versioning of languages. So if a new TypeScript version comes up and the old one does not support it, so there are strategies to work with, and there are of course ways to create your API specs like in a way that can support the back version.
I think it also depends on the minor or major version change. If you have breaking changes, obviously it will be much harder to support the back versions of the specification. Otherwise, it could be a little bit easier based on that. But anyway, just like versioning is, it's complicated.
Yeah, and docs as code, there's a, sorry, I'm also got jet lag. So docs as code is also a technology where you can, just like keep your API specs up to date and then put in your CI/CD pipeline. So whenever your new API specs is out there, the new docs, the new SDKs and everything will be published.
Any more questions?
Yeah, so the rules for the spec, are those public, are those just better to be
Yeah, so right now the rules are not public, but we are going to make them with the release of it. It's not released yet, the extension. It's still a work in progress.
questions of the gentleman to follow up on this point? So, the years working with your customers, I guess when they version APIs and generated SDK, so you mentioned strategy, right? What have you seen out the field? Are they generating SDK1 and SDK for that, SDK2, another corresponding SDK? Do they go hand in hand like this? Or, I mean, I know the URLs that they suck, right? But even Toby himself said that versioning an API is a really bad idea, but from a pragmatic point of view, we do it, right? So what have you seen your customers do?
Yeah, so maybe I'm not the right person to answer this question. Yeah, I don't work with customers a lot myself. Yeah, we have dev team, CTO, and yeah, so maybe to be honest, instead of just saying, telling a wrong answer, we can talk about it offline. Yeah, I can connect with CTO. Yeah.
All right. If there are no more questions, I have one request, by the way. If you get time, please complete the entire the document and share with us what you have done. Like share with us on the LinkedIn or Twitter. You can tag Apmatic and tell us how it went with you. Right? Thank you very much.
All right,
Thanks
thank
a lot
you.
for your time.